Hi, this is Jennifer from Positively Learning, and today we're going to be talking about intervention strategies. Now, when you think of this topic, you can go so many different directions. Today, I want to talk about intervention strategies when we are discussing progress that students are making or not making. And as special educators, we are fielding referrals. This might look like a general educator who has concerns about a student. And I'm thinking that this video is very timely because I'm filming this as we're getting ready for back to school. So often, like in the first 6 weeks of school, we get to know our students better. And we definitely might see some things that we have concerns about. So we're looking right now at the screen at a blog post that has just been published. I'll be sure to link below. And these are the types of things that we might just come up at a team meeting, or maybe someone stops you in the hall, or it's an email. And it's just saying, like, okay, I have serious concerns. We're working on this. This is what I should be seeing, and this is what I am seeing. Like, they're not keeping up. Or we need to put a meeting pronto, on the schedule for an IEP meeting, initialize the process. The student needs to go to the very top of that list. Everything I'm doing is not working. So as a special educator, we are we are definitely going to want to listen to this, right? But as someone with a lot of experience who hears this, there's a few things we can do that's either going to, well, of course, it's going to help the child, but it's going to either expedite the process or change the process a little bit. Because if we just said, oh my goodness, top of the list, we'd be in meetings all day, every day, right? And so we want to ask, like, what has already been done? So actually, before we even get to the asking part, our first job is just to listen. Because regardless of what is happening with a student, whether they are actually on track and there's something else going on that they're demonstrating, or whatever it is, the main thing is that a teacher has been concerned enough about a student to seek help. And that is very, very important and can't be minimized at all, right? Even if it's a teacher who has like referred everybody, which sometimes happens. All right, so first thing that we want to do is listen. We want to make sure we are listening. We're listening about to gather information about the student, but we're also listening to what the general educator is expressing as well. There could be lots of reasons that they are concerned, and that's important to find out more information. So, our job is to listen and to ask questions. And when we're asking questions, we are not in fix it mode. We are in gathering mode. We just want to ask so we can understand better what is happening. All right, so the next thing we want to do is make some decisions. And again, we're not launching into fix it mode. If we tried to fix problems that happened at the third, fourth, fifth week of school, I can promise as things settle down after back to school, or just we get to know the situation a little bit better, it can change drastically. I will just give it the quickest anecdote. I had a student that was literally not walking. Like, there was no walking. There was a lot of crawling, and there was no reason for it. And so it was very, very concerning. Why are you crawling when you have workable legs and can walk, and we've seen it and it's been great. And I mean, of course, I was like, oh no, this is not good. Well, 6 months later, the student is like a star student in class. I don't know why crawling was going on. There was probably lots of other reasons. We were showering lots of attention on it. That could have had a big part of it. But I mean, what a drastic example. That's not what we're usually going to be talking about. But boy, if I had jumped on my concerns right away without gathering more information or just learning more about it, whew, very different decisions would have been made. That would have been detrimental. Okay, so I'm scrolling down right now, and here's the kind of clarifying questions we want to ask. What intervention strategies have already been tried? If someone is seeking out help in a hallway or in the email, they have probably are going to be answering this, I've tried everything. And that's great. You don't want to minimize that, but you do want to just get some more information. Okay, great. Like, what did you try? How long did you try it for? What were the results? What happened next? And that's completely just in gathering mode. You are still not in intervention fix it mode, but you do want to get some more of this information. All right, so we're taking every conversation seriously, and I do have some strategies that I kind of use as my go-to. They're my go-to to offer immediate support, but they're also my go-to to learn more. So, my goal in this conversation is to listen, to ask questions, to learn more. The next step after that is to take some type of action. We want to take action, of course, to help the student, but remember, we're also wanting to help this teacher. This teacher has probably been feeling frustrated or concerned or both. All right, so what I have, and I'm going to click over to here. This is my Amazon store for Positively Learning. I have this book. I'm pointing at it right now, the Pre-Referral Intervention Manual. I do not know if you've seen this book or not, but it is amazing. All of these books have been books that I have continued to reference. However, I am just going to now point to the price of that book. Now, that is a bit out of reach, right? And you might see it higher and you might see it lower. I don't know why, the way it's been published. Now, is it worth it? Absolutely. It is absolutely worth that. Is that still making a realistic purchase? That's something that we can have in our classroom? Probably not. Probably not. So I have a secondhand copy and I use it and I guard it, and there's post-it notes and highlighters and everything. I love it, but possibly not what we need. The other thing about this book is that even though it's huge and it's an awesome reference and you find so many things in it, it's not always going to be applicable. It's very much a K through 12 approach across many settings. And that may not be most likely what you're teaching. You're most likely not teaching K through 12 across many settings unless you have cloned yourself 10 times. So, what I have done is I have started to gather a bank. You most likely have done this as well, a bank of resources, and banks of resources that have really been proven to work and have some results in the setting that I'm teaching in. And my setting is supporting teachers in the general education classroom. So that's like an inclusion setting, and supporting students in maybe small groups, pulling them at inside the inclusion classroom or pulling them for small groups in the resource room. Or this could even look like guided reading groups. So although I highly, highly recommend this pre-referral intervention manual, it is not something that I'm going to actively recommend because it's a little cost prohibitive. Okay, so what I have done is I've gathered a set of resources. I'm going to download this right now to show you a closer look. It's only 8 pages, but it packs a punch. What I've done is I've created this kit. This kit is what I could use to support my own students on my caseload, absolutely. It's also to support general educators who are in the situation we've been describing. So I'm going to scroll down and show you what's included. There's a information gathering sheet. This is going to get everybody on the same page. If we're meeting as a team, which would include a family member, team members that work with this child, maybe just you and the general educator to start with, we're going to be talking about these concerns, the intervention area that we're discussing, whether it's behavior, writing, testing accommodations. Then we are going to be choosing strategies. Notice how I only have room for 3 and I've kept it very simple. Strategy 1, the data we collect, we started it, we ended it. That is it. Plenty of room for notes. And I have 3 different strategies. You may not choose all 3. You're definitely not choosing more than that, right? That's not going to necessarily help the problem if we don't narrow it down. We want to try a strategy. We want to know if it's working or not. And you know what? It might not work. And that is okay, because then we'll have that information. Why didn't that work? What should we do next? So now here's another just more open-ended form that you can use. I also have a Google form that you can use and easily be sharing back and forth with the team members. The next thing I have, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, are some different strategies. Here's some behavior strategies. Now, the reason I love having these on paper, even though like they might be in your head and things that you've done before and like kind of your go-tos that you've seen work in the past, the reason I like having these out in print, and I keep them in sheet protectors in a binder to refer to them. The reason I do that is that it is much easier to have a conversation as a equal like colleague when you're referring to something kind of outside. If I'm just talking at a teacher saying, do this, do this, do this, I mean, that might go over really well, especially if you have a good relationship already. But especially when we're talking about things that are just maybe have like a high level of emotion because we are frustrated, we're worried. It might be a little bit easier to use an outside source like this. So those are some reference tools that I have. So I call it the Intervention Strategies Kit. And our goal is to gather more information, choose 1 to 3 strategies, not more, whether we're using the paper copies or the Google form. And then we've got those banks. And those banks are just kind of those reassurances. They start the conversation with the teacher. We can be choosing the 3 from there, or maybe it would just like launch a idea of like, oh, wait a minute, I know that this child really has shown strengths in this area. And it kind of sparks the idea from that. And it's very accessible because it's just on those pages. So there's actually 85 different strategies included, and they're divided by or organized by behavior support, math, reading, writing, and testing. All right, so I'm going to be linking this kit below. It is also included in this large special educators bundle to keep everything together. What I will also do is link this blog post so that you can learn more about it. And I have mentioned that this would be, of course, very appropriate for back to school. The reason I mention that is that's when I tend to have more conversations. However, these conversations can happen any time of year. And our goal of this conversation, besides what we talked about, learning more, our goal is to make that decision. Like, are we going to move forward with the IEP process potentially, or are we going to be putting these intervention strategies in place, measuring the progress, and then deciding on another strategy? Either way, this child's going to be getting help in an appropriate way, and that is our ultimate goal. All right, let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you.